to the Rankled Engineer. I've got a bit of a challenge today on this build. So I have a picture frame that I've been meaning to make for a really long time out of some purple hard lumber. It's a very thick ornate frame, and the trouble with that is as you route out the face of the frame, of the stock, it's no longer flat, and so you don't really have a good reference surface to keep it pushed against. So I'm building an overhead gantry lift to hold my router up on top so that I can keep the back of the stock against the table, and I'm not really building a lot of up and down motion for the entire router. I will be able to extend the router collet. I've got a piece of hardware to do that, so I'll be able to have the normal motion of the router up and down, but it will be very limited. It'll be limited to the throw of the router, but this will be able to slide in and out, and I'm going to go ahead and attach the fence to this whole base thing so that it clamps to the table and it'll be able to slide in and out to give me my control in that direction. So I've got two of these end pieces that I've cut out. That this is the track, as it were, will get mounted there, and then there's the deck. The deck that holds the router will sit underneath this one, and it will basically hang from these T-nuts. Actually, it goes in this direction, but it will be able to slide in and out and hopefully stay pretty parallel. I've got some bushings. Didn't work out quite as well. They fit in the slot perfectly. I had 3/8 inch hardware to go in them, and they were just a little bit tight, so I tried to ream them out, and they got kind of funky. It'll still work. This doesn't have to be precision, simply because we're only dealing with one axis of motion, and that's this direction, so we can set the fence even if it's not quite square. It's only one point that we're running by, so it doesn't have to be perfectly parallel to everything else. So I'm going to start assembling, cut all this stuff out already, and routed out these tracks. I had to route out a little bit down here too to clear the T-nuts that hold the aluminum plate that holds the router. So pretty fun build. I've got these spacers that I'm going to use to support the deck so that hopefully it does need to be parallel. As I said, in and out, not so much, doesn't have to be perfectly square, but it does need to sit relatively parallel to the deck. And these end pieces are going to serve to help take any flex or minimize the flex of this so that it can hopefully maintain the parallel nature that we're going for. This piece will go in the back. That will be my fence. And I was going to put the T-track clamps down so that it would just attach to this track, but it doesn't have to move relative to the table, so I'm just going to use clamps when I use it. And this will still be my work surface, but this will be what holds all that. So I'm going to nail it and screw it, or pin it and screw it. There's a back piece that'll go across the back that'll help stop it, not that it can travel too far. I've got 8 inches of travel, and I think that'll be pretty good. I struggled whether to make this like the ultimate tool that I could use all the time, but this is the first time I've encountered a need to do this. So, you know, I'm making it so that it will function for what I need for the picture frames, and also so that it will function relatively well in 98% of the applications I can think of where I might actually need to do this. So it's more important that I line up these back here. And while I tried to cut, I mean, these are just kind of the jigsaw, these notches. So while I tried to cut it so that this piece would be perfectly flush with the bottom, it's more critical that the spacing between this flat piece and the table, so there's a little bit of a lip there, but that's not what I'm worried about. I don't have enough pressure. I think I would prepare by actually getting the right nails, or the right quantity on the end. For one of my T-nuts, I actually had to go buy a 7/16 drill bit, not something you normally have to use, so Did not come in my kit. I really like T-nuts. They're a nice piece of hardware for something you need to be able to take apart. I actually use them on the router table to keep everything tied down. Alright, that's together. I wanted to make it out of 3/4 plywood, but I kind of found I didn't have enough big pieces of plywood, except for some really nice plywood that I didn't want to use. This is melamine left over from the kitchen, so I figured I would just use it. Should be plenty strong. Shouldn't need these spacers. Good measure, no pun intended, might as well attach this bracket. That should make this piece relatively stable. We're going to go ahead and attach the fence. This one, it's important to sink the heads all the way. Don't have anything sticking out. And I got my square, so I should be able to do the back, and I think I can just luck. There should be about 1 inch of clearance. Take it up with this 3/4 of an inch, and then yeah, so there should be pretty tight. So I want to hang this and get that done. I could put something up here, but I think it's pretty well locked together. So I could screw these down into the T-nuts, and that would be it. I'm just going to use the T-nuts as a standoff. And then I've got some wing nuts that I can use to clamp it down. And these are the bushings that are going to be very difficult to get on and off. So I suppose I could use a wing nut, push it down. And I made a little recess because the bushings are taller than the melamine. Rather than cut them, I made a little recess for it to fit in by just enlarging the hole. So it should be a pretty snug peg between the two. So with any luck. Haha. Didn't think about that one. So, it's a closed system apparently. So, what we'll do, we don't want to pull those out. Guess we knocked the front off. Put that back on after. Get this in place. Not the end of the world. bushings in the front are good. Ones in the back got too marred up too much, so I'm gonna cut those off and just run the bolts in the back. I'll run the bushings in the front. Like I said, it doesn't make a huge deal. I do hate trying to make these machine type of things where you need things to slide parallel to each other, and so you build grooves for them. Alright, so that's tight. Hey! That seems to work. So alright, I'm going to go cut a new piece for the front after I pull off. This is my large router template, or bed plate, and it will just out right there, and then the unit will sit right there. So I will be right back out of the garage. And that's touching. So I'm gonna have to go buy something that's just a hair. I mean, just a little bit smaller. But other than that, I think this is done. I'll get some video of it in action, doing some test runs. So yeah, there's my overhead gantry. Alright, so it's finished. We got the right nuts or bolts for the router. Got it set up to just make a quick pass just to test it out, make sure it's working pretty good. I'm going to need to find out how to get some lights down in there, but I think it's pretty stable. I'm probably going to pop a screw in there just to help with the lift a little bit, but other than that, the frame seems pretty good. So let's give it a try.